Today, we're going to talk about all of the steps that it takes to purchase a home, whether you're a first-time home buyer, whether it's been a while since you bought a home, or whether you just need a little refresher. I'm going to walk you through the process step by step, so stay tuned. The first thing you're going to need to do is to get pre-approved for that loan. Now, why do you want to get pre-approved? Well, you're going to need to know how much you can actually spend on a home. That's going to help to determine what must-haves you need on a home and what you can live without based on the price range. One thing we recommend is that you get fully underwritten. Now, why do we recommend that? If you're fully underwritten, that is going to give you the best buying power that you can possibly have. It's nearly as good as being a cash buyer. That means that the lender has already gone through, verified all of your income documents, and they know for a fact that you are not going to get denied for this loan based on your income. So that helps you be a more well-positioned buyer when you make that offer on the home. The next thing we need to do is we need to schedule some showings of homes. So we're going to set up an auto search for you. We're also going to hand pick some homes that are going to send over to you and make sure that you get to see every single thing that meets your criteria. So once you scan through those homes and you see some that catch your eye, we'll start scheduling some showings. We'll go out and we'll take a look until we find just the right home for you. At that point, we're going to move to the offer stage. So when we write an offer, we do a full comparative market analysis. We call that a CMA. And the reason we do that, we want to make sure that you're offering the right price on that home for what it has to offer. And then we're going to craft and negotiate the perfect offer for you, something that's fair for the sellers and for the buyers. And what we'll do is we're going to look to see if it's a buyer's market or if it's a seller's market. We'll determine how long the property's actually been on the market, and then we'll be able to negotiate a fair offer that's going to make everybody happy. Now, once that offer is negotiated and both the buyer and the seller have signed that particular document, one of the agents will do what we call binding the contract. So that's where we receive the contract and we acknowledge that we received it, and then we'll send that contract to title and to the lender. So during this time, we're also going to schedule our inspection. Now, we typically schedule 10 days for an inspection. That gives us time to have an inspector come in, check out the mechanicals, foundation, things like that. Radon is also something in the state of Tennessee that is checked quite often. It gives you an opportunity to have the septic, if needed, inspected as well. And if the property has a pool, that may be something that you want to get inspected as well. So that gives us 10 days to take care of all of that. It also allows us that 10-day period to check HOA restrictions, any covenants and restrictions on the deed. It also allows us time to check with any city ordinances or codes departments to make sure that you can use the property as intended. Now, once the inspection is completed, that gives us an opportunity to negotiate repairs. Now, there's a 5-day resolution period. So we send over a proposal of what we would like to ask for to be repaired, either closing cost credits to go towards repairs, or we can ask for money to be held in escrow to be paid directly to contractors in order to complete the work. Once we send that proposal over, they have 5 days in order to come to some sort of an agreement with us. And once we come to that agreement, we put that into what we call a repair amendment. So once that repair amendment is in place, then that will go to title, and those are the items that will be expected to be completed before closing or negotiated to be completed after closing. The next thing to occur is the appraisal. So it's ordered by the lender and paid for by the buyer. Now, this lender does not know who the appraiser is going to be on the property. It goes out to an appraisal management company, and then that management company ends up selecting someone basically through a round robin. So they put it out, whoever selects it first, they get to go do the appraisal. So there's no way that the lender, the seller, or the buyer knows who is going to be appraising their home. Once the appraisal process is complete, we're going to see if that appraisal matches the actual purchase price. If it appraises over the purchase price, then we are good. So if the appraisal comes in under the purchase price, this gives us the opportunity to go back and negotiate. That's why when you have a loan, you have that appraisal contingency within that contract. Now we've made it through and we're getting towards the finish line. About 3 days before we get to the closing table, you're going to get what's called the closing disclosures. Now, that goes out from the lender, and it's basically disclosing all of the fees that are going to be charged in the transaction. So that should line up with what comes up next, which is what's called the ALTA. So one day before closing, at least one day before closing, you should get the ALTA from the title company. That one's going to be a little more accurate. It should be pretty close to the closing disclosure you got from the lender, but this is going to give you the amount of funds that you need to wire to the closing company in order to be able to close on that property. Now, we typically like to see those funds wired at least one day before closing. That just keeps anything from holding up your closing and keeping you from getting those keys at the closing table. Also, 1 to 2 days before closing, sometimes even on the closing day, we'll do what's called the final walkthrough. So that's where we walk through the house and we just make sure that everything is as it was when we went under contract on the property. That includes everything from landscaping to yard work. If there's any storm damage and it blew some limbs down that weren't there when we saw the home, I even recommend a lot of times I will take a quick video as we walk through on a house that it looks like something that we're going to make an offer on. So that typically gives us that fallback that we can go back and say, well, it was not in that shape when we looked at it when we wrote the offer. So if everything's okay on that final walkthrough, we will go to the closing table. Now, once we get to closing, you're going to sign everything from your loan docs to everything to get the deed transferred over into your name and transfer ownership of that home. Once that is signed, it's going to be sent over to your lender. The lender will then send the funds over to the title company, and then the title company will disperse all of the funds everywhere they need to go, including your earnest money, the down payment that you made, and the funds that we got from the lender. So once all of those funds come together, they will disperse to wherever those funds need to go. And once they've done that, it is considered funded and you get the keys to your home. Now, once you get the keys to your home, it's time for you to go celebrate. Now, about a week or two after you get moved in, let me know. We're going to have what's called a home warming party. We're going to throw a party. You get to invite some of your friends, your lender and myself. We're going to come out and we're going to have a good time welcoming you to your new home.